Now, millions of people across our country are standing up for racial injustice and making their voices heard, and people in our community are doing the same. KSNT News reporter Kelly Peltier tells us just how a local church is taking some small steps to enact change in our community. Kelly?
Hannah, the members here at Topeka Bible Church say the murders of George Floyd and countless others is heartbreaking, and now more than ever want things to change. So today they took that first step in getting that change by having a small but powerful conversation.
It's not enough to just read. We need to talk. We need to think. We need to see what the Lord would say to us.
This morning, the congregation at Topeka Bible Church had the chance to begin a difficult conversation about race. They listened to the perspectives of two of their African-American members on racial injustice in America. Rodney Kenner and Stephen McIntosh say today's conversation was overdue and wanted it to challenge its fellow members to reflect on where they stand on current issues.
I hope in some ways there is a heaviness to the realization that this affects people's lives. The injustices and the trauma and the things that people go through, they're real.
The church's pastor says one of the biggest questions facing the country right now is what do we do to make things better? He believes some of those answers can be found in Scripture.
A lot of people answer the question, what do the righteous do when the foundations crumble, by saying you can't do anything. But the Psalm says, yeah, they can. You can do a lot. You can engage. You can get involved.
He says today's conversation was the first step in doing so. McIntosh knows the road ahead for racial equality won't be easy, but hopes that his message today will be one that inspires empathy and compassion, things he says will bring lasting change.
Once you're able to get perspective and insight, then you're actually able to see the action. You're able to feel the compassion and feel that compelling reason to get in action.
And right now, a few members of the church and a number of other churches throughout the city are at the state capitol saying a prayer for people across the country hurting because of everything going on. Live in Central Topeka, Kelly Peltier, KSNT News.
Thanks, Kelly. Definitely an important message there.
The fight for racial injustice is happening right here in Northeast Kansas, too. A K-State athlete is using her platform to promote equality. KSNT Sports Director Pete Francis tells us how.
I talked to my mom about it. My mom was like, you know, if this is the kind of stance that you want to take, then you're going to offend some people. You're going to make some people mad, but it's what you believe in.
As protests continue around the country following the death of George Floyd, K-State basketball's Chrissy Carr is making her voice heard.
Say his name! George Floyd! Say his name! George Floyd!
Last week, Carr went viral tweeting a photo protesting at the state capitol alongside a photo of her on the court with a simple message.
If you don't support me with this, then don't support me in basketball.
And Carr was blown away by the support.
And to see how many K-State fans really actually have my back with that, it means a lot, because that means it shows that they appreciate me as more than just somebody who wears the number 43.
Carr also received backlash, which made her a bit apprehensive at first to speak out.
It kind of hurt me a little bit just to see how many people are, you know, just very small-minded about things. And I mean, I got threats in my DMs. I got threats on Instagram.
The Manhattan grad has been active at protests in both Manhattan and Topeka.
Going to Topeka and being able to protest was great. I mean, I got to see Peyton there and we got to march together and we led some chants together. And then coming here and seeing how many people in the place that I live also protest peacefully was great too.
Carr is heading to Minneapolis this weekend to peacefully protest there. In Manhattan, Pete Francis, KSNT News.
A group of people walked over a mile to get to here at Evergy Plaza for what they called a unity prayer walk. Their message today, more unity, more peace, and change. Today, a group of people in Topeka walked from 12th and Washington to Evergy Plaza.
And the King of Glory shall come in.
Praying for the community to come together and support one another, now more than ever.
No racism, working together under God's will.
Despite the difficult things going on right now across the country, Pastor Gregory Bland organized the walk and says change has been long overdue, and he feels called to step up and make a difference.
Unity in the community. This is our community.
For Topeka and communities across the world.
It's not about color. It's not about what you believe in, but at the end of the day, that we're all one. We're all human beings, and we all deserve respect. and we all, live in the same community, so we ought to be able to respect one another.
People prayed, shared their feelings and thoughts about how we make change moving forward. And are hopeful that change they've been looking for will come. One person who went to the walk says today was just the first of many steps she hopes to see people in Topeka take toward a more inclusive place for everyone to live.
For once, out of all the stuff that's been going on with the killing, the gun violence, for us to come together in the community for Topeka, Kansas, we took a big step. And it's a step into our future, so prayerfully, more of it to come from what was seen today.
Pastor Bland says he hopes today's prayer walk left a lasting message with those who went and will be an inspiration for others in the community watching.
Martin Luther King said that if we don't get along as brothers, then we'll perish as fools. And so I believe that, if we have to be able to get along.
The chief of police was also here today. Pastor Bland tells me that he plans to sit down with city officials like himself to talk about how they can have more conversations publicly like today. In downtown Topeka, Kelly Peltier, Fox 43 News.
Black education leaders are working together to get racial disparity issues in schools front and center. 5 of the state's nearly 300 school superintendents are black. On Tuesday, 4 of them, as well as a black school board member, held an online discussion. They talked about closing opportunity gaps for minority students and to make sure that the educational experience is equitable.
How are we helping young people see themselves as worthy of accessing those opportunities? We're also challenging mindsets. How are we making sure that our staff that we have, whether they are people of color or not, have the mindset of understanding history, diversity, the importance of sense of belonging?
Tiffany Anderson is the Topeka Public Schools superintendent. With what's happening around the country, she says now is the time to make a difference in the lives of struggling students.
When things happen, it can be a moment or a movement. I am hoping and trusting that this is a movement.
They discussed how money is spent in schools, the need to hire more diverse teachers, and bias in discipline.
Take a look at the individuals who are being suspended. Take a look at the students who are in your lowest performing classes. Take a look at the students who are in your lowest performing schools. If they all look alike, we have an issue.
The leaders say it's important to get everyone involved in the conversation.
If you've been one that's kind of been sitting on the sidelines, it's time to start moving.
There's a lot to tackle, which is why conversations can't end today. They have got to be ongoing.
In 2 weeks, another discussion will take place. It will include the Wichita and Caney Valley superintendents, both of whom are minorities. Reporting at the Capitol, I'm Alec Gartner.
Kansans from different races, backgrounds, and locations are coming together for racial justice.
And our Capitol Bureau reporter Corinne Griffith is live at the State House, where she spoke with some members of Governor Kelly's newest commission. Corinne?
In response to the death of George Floyd and the widespread protests that followed, Governor Kelly created the Commission on Racial Equity and Justice. According to the governor, the goal of the 12-person commission is to develop and recommend policy changes that will create a lasting change for people of color in Kansas. John Nave, executive vice president of the Kansas AFL-CIO, says racial injustice is not new. It's just being recorded now.
I think I was a freshman in high school, and we got stopped by the police up there, and he detained us and asked us 110 questions.
Nave adds that he has had to have conversations with his children about how to interact with the police. He hopes this commission will change that conversation by developing laws on police training and what happens if an officer uses excessive force.
At the end of the day, they have to have accountability.
Anthony Lewis, superintendent of Lawrence Schools, says that police reform will likely be the first thing the commission takes action on. But he adds that other topics like equity in Kansas schools are also important. He says he wants the commission's work to have a long-term impact.
I want people to look back and say, because of some decisions that we made in 2020, it will benefit people that are coming years after we're gone.
And other members of the commission represent the law enforcement, legal, and religious fields. We will continue to keep you updated on the work of the commission. Live at the Capitol, I'm Corinne Griffith, KSNT News.